Regular Reina, and from the outside of the house we have team here MAPK Anjani. As the first speaker is Mr. Al. Yes. Oh yes. Okay, sorry. The first speaker is Miss Aludina Mandalika. The second speaker is Zumratul Aini, and the third speaker is Mr. Muhammad Al Ramdan. So, without wasting time, we will start our debate. And our mission today is: this house will impose behavior punishment to law enforcers, such but not limited to police officer, judges, and etc. who commit a crime. So, before we start the match, I'll give you the rules of the debate. First, every speaker has 7 minutes and 20 seconds to deliver their argument, and 3 minutes to the reply speaker without POI. Second, when the debate has been running when the debate has been running in 1 minute, I will clap once. It means the POI is open. And the third is when the debate has been running in 6 minutes, I will clap twice. It means the POI is closed. And fourth, when the time is over, I will clap continuously. It means yes, you have to stop your speech. So guys, let's start our debate today. Please welcome the first speaker from the government side of the house, Mr. Postic. I'm this one.
How things look on our side of the house, and third, how to achieve our goal. First of all, law enforcers deserve a heavier punishment. If we can compare a normal law enforcer and a normal citizen doing crime, a normal citizen usually do crime out of desperateness. They're usually poor, unemployed, and really needed the money for their family. So they rob a store and they got prison. They rob a store, accidentally murder someone, and get sentenced for 5 years. While a police would do bribery, corruption, even though they are given the money, the education, and the power by the government, but they would still bribe, they would still steal, they would still do crime, not because they're desperate, not because they need the money, it's because they are greedy. They really wanted that money. So they bribe people, they murder people, they cover up their crime, and they bribe it all the way. But what do they got? The exact same sentence as a normal citizen. There are no difference between the two. And these law enforcement, it's like the government saying to these law enforcers, it's okay if you do crimes, go ahead, you'll be given the same sentence, the same risk, it's completely fine. Second of all, law enforcement, like I said in my intro, law enforcers are given the higher education than a normal person. They know how this crime works, they know how the sentencing works, and they know how to do the perfect crime. And they know how to do the perfect crime without any flaws. And they also know the risk. They also know the risk and everything, but they still commit it. Because there are no difference between their punishment and normal citizen. There isn't a bigger risk, so they're willing to take that risk to fulfill their own greed. They have all the money, they have all the power, they have all the chances, which gave them a higher chance of doing crime than a normal citizen would. Not only their crime is much more higher in quantity, but also in quality. Like their crime has bigger impact, much more dangerous, and these crimes are much more frequent than we think. Like take the case of Sambo, where a life has been taken, where crimes have been covered up so bad. Imagine if Sambo is a normal citizen murdering another. Perhaps all of this shouldn't police, he could bribe anyone, he could cover up all his crime. This case has been more complicated than ever. Secondly, how things look on our side of the house. Things on our side of the house is that every law enforcer would follow the law and would not take the risk of doing any crime if they're being given a heavier punishment. A police officer would think 100 times if they think like, oh, if I do this crime, I'll be sentenced like 3 times more than a normal citizen would. Perhaps I shouldn't do this crime at all, and perhaps I will commit to my job. And if there's such a big risk in doing crime as a law enforcer, perhaps people would think again to be a law enforcer. So even if they do law enforcement, they know the risk, they're willing to take the chances, and they are a responsible law enforcer that will protect the country and create a much more better, sustainable, and safe country for ourselves. Thirdly, how we will achieve our goal. Our goal is to create a society where law enforcement obey the rule, doesn't do crime, even the citizen is safe, and law enforcement are responsible people who are willing to protect the country. How we will achieve this goal is by giving, like I said, a heavier sentence. For example, if a person is charged with 5 years of prison if they commit a murder, then the police should be charged for 7 more years or even 10 more years. Because if they murder someone, they know what they will get. They know they will be given a punishment. They know that it is against the law, and they even have the weapon, the money to cover it up, and even the weapon itself just to do it. Secondly, if a police officer is bribed by someone to transport illegal stuff, they should be given the exact same sentence. Because technically they have done the exact same thing by helping the criminal bring dangerous items to Indonesia. They have failed as law enforcement, they have failed their job, and they have failed to protect the country, and even worse, endanger the citizens of the country that they promised to protect. That's all I've got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your speech. You spent time 5 minutes and 49 seconds. Now let's move to the offside of the team. Please welcome Ms. Alvinda Anjani. Time and place are provided.
I'm the first speaker of government team. Before I get to my argument, I'd like to rebuttal some point from the government team. I got their point. Even they have a big change to do it that criminal thing. They also will think about they have a responsibility, and when they do that criminal thing, they will not do a big criminal. And the next rebuttal is they said how could they just do one mistake and directly they as a government team will give heavier punishment to give them heavier punishment, and even they give the heavier punishment to the law efforts, it's not guaranteed that the law efforts will not do again the criminal things. So going to my point, the first is it's also the mistake of government who not give fair for the law enforcers. So the crime that they do not balance with something that they have give for developing our country. Our country will be nothing when they not sacrifice anything. Their time, their power, their thinking, and their knowledge to bring our country become developed. Actually, we just need to give mild punishment, and we believe when the law enforcers get the mild punishment, they think and not to gain, because they more know, like what they say, they more know about the education, they more know about what the rule of the law. So we just need to give mild punishment to give them some mild punishment that like just what I said is now, because we know they more understand about the law. I'm pretty sure that they will compare something that what they will do. And my second point is the heavier or severe punishment will actually make the corruptor more creative and more structured in carrying out these wishes. Why? Because they have know that punishment. They will get so many ways. They will look for so many ways to or make new strategy that very hard to attack their punish itself. And to avoid severe penalties, corrupt will expand their network by committing non-tax crimes in various sectors that can bring them down, including the legal institutions themselves. The benefit of corruption will also be distributed to many people at various international levels. The more people involved, the more difficult it is to uncover the case. Everyone will try to protect their own interests and security, even when one of them is proven to have committed corruption. At least they will seek a reduction in the penalties in penalty period or penalty fines that must be paid. That's all for me, and everywhere I support my team. Thank you.
Spend time 3 minutes and 32 seconds. Now let's move to the second speaker from the government side of the house. Please welcome Mr. Bidding. Time and tests are provided.
Okay, good day. I'm going to be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Now I'm going to rebut against the opposing team, but first of all, I need to explain that unfortunately the first speaker of the opposing team could not explain their rebuttal clearly. So this is what I got from their rebuttal. So right now they said give mild punishments so they don't do it again. Now, if we give them mild punishments, the corruptors, the crime committing law enforcers, they could just think if the crime is like this, if we do this crime and we just get this type of punishment, a small punishment, that means it's not heavy for us. We can just commit it again later on. Now, if we just give them mild punishments, they're just gonna do it again, no? Because, well, if I was them, I committed a crime and then the punishment is like, it's very light, like why not do it again? It's already light enough to avoid crime for yourselves, and it's light enough to get off scotch-free and not even have a broken name after the punishment. Now, they also said that the corruptors would think better because of these higher punishments. Yeah? Now, if these corruptors think harder, I know it's not completely stopping the corruptors, but it's slowing them down at a high pace. Now, if corruption is it's a very bad thing in our country, but if we can slow them down, even not stopping them, for slowing them down, that's already a big thing to do for the country, because they could not commit crimes as fast as usual. They cannot break as many laws as before, and they have to think twice before committing something. Now, off to my main point, to my argument, sorry. Now, first of all, I need to explain, what is the main reason of these people committing these crimes? Well, as the reason tends to branch from the very thing humans want, power and money. Now, crimes committed by law enforcement is no small matter. The very old of our enforcers committed crimes. They were meant to protect us, not do dirty works in the shadows. Now, why bigger sanctions for them? Why bigger, let's just say, retribution? First of all, let's start with an example of criminals. There are mostly people, not all but mostly, that were uneducated, raised in poor environments, and desperate to keep on living because they were broke. They were very poor. They could not afford as normal now. But law enforcers, these enforcers, had mostly spent their lives, not all but mostly of them, they had spent their lives in privilege. They went to school to study law to the highest extent, and they vowed to protect their country, to protect the people in it. Now and yet they disappointingly betrayed the very people that they were supposed to protect by committing these atrocities. If I may also point out that during these crimes, these law enforcers are protected by the law. They're practically invisible. You can't give sanctions to people who are practically not there. Now, if we give heavier punishments, or let's say the death penalty, it would make others think, or by practically saying, if I commit this could mean death. Therefore, they would think before they do. And why would we want to send these criminals back to the road after jail time, after committing these very bad crimes, these atrocities to their own people? Now, after committing these crimes, after jail time, after committing these crimes, that is the question to be answered. And human rights, these enforcers have already done worse things what a normal criminal would do. So don't you even think about bringing human rights into a point, because you know yourselves that's a very ridiculous thing to bring in. And currently laws enforced crimes are mostly trying to be covered and covered up to protect the face of justice. There is no justice in covering up your own mistakes with false accusations. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your speech. You spent time 4 minutes and 16 seconds. And now let's move to the second speaker from the Executive of the House. Please welcome Ms. Zumratul Aini. Time and place are provided.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the second speaker of opposite in this debate. And before I'm going to my argument, I would like to rebuttal some point of the government team from the first speaker and the second speaker. You say that when the law enforcer do the crime, they will have bigger impact. They will give the bigger impact to the environment, to the country. And actually, when the law enforcer get heavier punishment, they will more creative to do the crime again. It's not guaranteed, like the first speaker said. It's not guaranteed to law enforcer will not do the crime again. And the second is they have more. They said they have more actually when the law enforcer do the crime, they more understand about the rule when they get meal punishment from the government, and they know the rule of our country before they do that, so that we don't need to give the heavier punishment to the law enforcer that who do the crime. And going to my argument. In here, of course, we disagree of this motion that impose heavier punishment to law enforcer who commit a crime. To know before, when the government impose heavier punishment to the law enforcer, it will give many positive effect or negative effect to themselves, environment. But we believe that when they get heavier punishment to law enforcer, it will give a negative effect to the environment, country, and society. Why? Because as we know together, in our country, many law enforcers do the crime because they don't feel satisfied, do the feedback. Why do I say like that? Because they have struggled to the best country, but they get the small feedback from our country. So that's why, never mind if they do the crime to this country, because they don't feel satisfied. It's like I said just now, they don't feel satisfied to what have they done to this country. So they don't need to get the heavier punishment. And also, when the government give them heavier punishment, their self-esteem will be dropped as law enforcer. It means society will not believe again to them because of they are as the highest rank or the highest level in a country. They should have good example to the society, not make them down in front of the society. In order, the society will be always obey to the rule, and the society also will look them down if they get heavier punishment. And law enforcement also important to develop our country. So, no thanks. So they don't need to get balanced punishment as usual. Who are the people who do the crime? Because they do that because of they don't feel balanced. As like I said just now, they don't feel balanced feedback from the government itself. So we don't need to give the heavier punishment to the law enforcement who do the crime. And the second point is, when there is severe punishment, will actually make them more creative and more structured in carrying out his wish. It means that when heavier punishment they get, everything they will do, everything to get their wish, even if it's the wrong way. Because unfair. They feel unfair to the government of this country because they get the small feedback from the government itself. And also they do the crime not because of because they as human usually, and they also came to do the crime, and we don't need also to give the heavier punishment to them. That's all from my argument. And I will also.
For your speech, you spent time 4 minutes and 24 seconds. And now let's move to the third speaker from the open team. Let's welcome Mr. Patrick Julian during our time for the
I would like to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. On our side of the house, we believe that police need to have more bigger punishments due to the fact. Well, you may ask why, because crimes committed by the law enforcement. You may ask why crimes committed by the law enforcement because they are guilty. Also, the first speaker's rebuttal doesn't really make sense since what my speaker's statement said. First speaker's statement was that since they know more and they have received a lighter, since they know more, why would they receive a lighter punishment? Like what my second speaker had said, if they have received a lighter punishment, then they will continue to do that crime over and over again, unlike regular criminals. So, in conclusion, I believe that my team had won because the first speaker failed to deliver their rebuttal, and the whole argument and the opposing team's argument had been proven wrong by my team's argument. Thank you very much.
You spent time 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Let's move to the third speaker from the outside team. Please welcome Mr. Muhammad Ali Ramana and Mr. Fahid.
Start to argument. Zebra punishment will actually make the perpetrator of crime more credit in committing the crime. Because if the perpetrator of crime knows the punishment for himself, if he was it's more heavier from the punishment if the ordinary people serve, they will more think about how to make their action so as not to be revealed by the government and more law enforcement. To avoid zebra penalties, perpetrator of crime will do anything like bribe other side that can drop it, because increasingly many parties involved, the more difficult the case will be revealed. Because police have to interrogate more counter party in order to the case is revealed. And letter 2. Result from the crime will share to side that concern and have helped the perpetrator of crime, like money and each other. Except that there is eventual lack of trust in law enforcement from society that they can unravel the case. Loss of trust will be happen. It means society will see the rule of our society is weak, and that will make society do more crime because they see the rules is weak, and that matters happen. So, parts of crime will be more happen in our country. Example of crime like corruption in our country. Corruption brings so many bad effect for our country, like determined impact for our country. Because if there is corruption that happen in our country, and like my first speaker said, when there is zebra punishment, will actually make the corruption more creative and more structure his plan in carrying out his wishes. It means with heavier punishment, they will do everything to get their wishes, even if it is a wrong way, and have a bigger impact when the law enforcer get heavier punishment to do crime again. Will more creative. It is not great to law enforcer will not do the crime again. That's all from my speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your speech. Time 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Now it's the last term of this debate. It's the last what I said. The last time that you try to convincing the judge that your team will win this debate. So please welcome the reply speaker from the opposite team of the house. Please welcome Ms. Aludina Mandalika Islami. Thank you. time and place are provided.
This is a silent
From who's the
Okay, I'm the speaker of the house. I'll tell you what happened in this debate. Okay, first, I have to tell you that we don't need to give heavier punishment because it's also the mistake of the government. I have said this now, it's my point. Who not give the payer for law enforcers, and also they always say to protect their law. But I have said that even they give the heavier punishment at this law enforcers, it's not guaranteed that they will not do the criminal itself. But actually they never answer my point that I say how when they give them heavier punishment, and how about the society? It will make the society will look the law enforcers down, so they will not obey all the rules because the society have know what is the mistake, what is the bad thing that the law enforcers have to do. So their point is too weak to ruin my point. So I'm standing here with my strong point, and I believe that I will do it.
Let's figure out from the time and place are provided.
Right, now me speaking in 3, 2, 1. So before I go to why our arguments might, I'll be rebutting few of the points that is spoke by the opposition. First of all, they should be given mild punishment because of having education. Why? Is having education related with their morality? Of course no. In fact, having education just give them much more when it comes to planning the crime. First of all, let's compare a crime that will be done by a law enforcer and a normal citizen. A normal citizen would murder someone because they hate that person and other emotional reason. A law enforcer would commit a crime because they have motive, because they have education. They know why they must do that crime, and they have motive. What is that motive? Greed. For example, a normal citizen will murder a person because of emotional reason, while a law enforcer would murder a reporter, a female reporter. They will murder her and even cover her crime because she has information about him doing bribery or any illegal action. And who will stop them? Law enforcer? Of course no. They'll just bribe other law enforcers and just continue this dangerous cycle. Second of all, corruption will be stronger. Yes, I agree that perhaps giving them heavier punishment would even make law enforcers become sneakier and smooth once they come doing crime. But also, giving them life punishment would do nothing. They would still continue to do crimes, and even perhaps some of them even became stronger on your side of the house. Which is why, at least on our side of the house, these law enforcers who are caught will be punished, given heavy punishment, and that perhaps could even scare another law enforcer from doing crime by seeing other like this one law enforcer is giving punishment 3 times heavier than a normal citizen. Like, oh no, I'm not going to do that crime. That is too much risk. And at least on our side of the house, even if not all law enforcers who break the rule are caught, at least the one who are caught is given punishment and given the right punishment that they deserve. Third of all, people want, if you give heavier punishment, these people won't believe law enforcers. And that is a good thing. Society shouldn't idolize these law enforcers because they have proved over and over again that they have failed as law enforcers. Look at the case of Sambo. Look at the corruption. They have failed to fulfill their role in society, which is why they must fight for the right and the image that society should have given. Society should be critical and see them as normal human beings that can make mistakes, that can be corrupted, and that are greedy if they are given the choice. Which is why these law enforcers shouldn't be seen or idolized. They should fight. They should continuously prove that they are not corrupted people by not breaking any law, by not being corrupted, by not fulfilling their greed. This is 3 points why our arguments win. First of all, law enforcers are privileged people that deserve to be punished if they do any crime. They are given the education, the power, the money, and everything to commit the perfect crime. But they also given all these resources by the government. Why? Because they must protect the citizen. And if they fail to do that, then they deserve those punishments. Second of all, they have failed their task as law enforcers. They're given the task by society and they fail to do so. Third of all, our side of the house is better. Let us set things on our side of the house. The innocent citizen is much more protected. And all the law enforcers that are caught will be punished severely, proving to a society that these law enforcers have failed and not giving them the wrong image. At least society will feel safer than knowing that these law enforcers are imprisoned and given the right punishment. That's all I've got to say. Thank you very much.
We'll spend time tuning in 51 seconds. Now I will hear the vision from Elizabeth.
Okay, I think wait me outside for 2 to 3 minutes.